You tapped in, no filter, no fluff, real rap every time. Yeah, we talking about health, from the boardroom moves to the barbershop facts. We keep it 100, never turning our backs. Mine sharp like a suit with the fade on point. Every convo cut deep, this ain't just for the joint. It's the culture, the hustle, the game, and the grind. You looking for truth, then you came to the right line. Keeping it 100, facts versus feelings. Keeping it 100, truth with no ceilings. Keeping it 100, no cap, just vision. We speak it, we live it, your health is our mission. Keeping it 100, facts versus feelings. Keeping it 100, truth with no ceilings. Keeping it 100, no cap, just vision. We speak it, we live it, your health is our mission.
Hey, welcome to the Keeping It 100 podcast, where we have these open and honest conversations to make sure you have all the information you need to make better health decisions. I am your host, Dr. Kristin Motley, and really excited to be here for today's show. We have a really incredible special guest on. But first, I want to update you all on some news topics. State Representative Shelby Labs have introduced a bill for Pennsylvania that will require that children be tested for lead twice before the age of 2. It is the Childhood Blood Lead Test Act. I am really excited about this bill. It is a long time coming to Pennsylvania. The CDC has recommended this for many, many, many years. Many states already require that children are tested twice, or at least have some type of childhood lead testing requirement. And Pennsylvania has none. And so I'm really excited about the possibility for us to get this passed for the state and have this positive health impact on our children. As you know, Health Educator, we've been doing a lot of work regarding lead, childhood lead exposure, preventing lead poisoning. So we are really thrilled to do what we can to support this. If you are in Pennsylvania, I am encouraging you to write your state rep and let them know that you want this bill to be passed. This is the Childhood Blood Lead Test Act, again, that is sponsored by Representative Shelby Labs. And we just gonna push this right on across the finish lines. Too many children that are not being tested for lead. We know that lead is incredibly dangerous, especially for young people, as well as for pregnant people. But for this one, we're going to focus on young people. Want to make sure that they are tested so that they can have the supports in place to address whatever is the source of their lead poisoning. And we don't know that there's an issue a lot of times until we test them. And it's unfortunate that we don't know until the kid is tested. And I want us to do some more proactive work to test the places where children are, their homes, schools, and looking at that so we don't have to do testing through a child. But we do want to know if children are testing positive, they're testing with high levels, because that's the only way that we can address the source. So let's get that passed. Write to state legislator, let them know you want to get that passed. Next, there was a pregnant person that became um, that whose child contracted a bacterial infection, listeria, because the pregnant person was drinking raw milk. This happened out in New Mexico recently. So we just want to remind listeners that raw milk, especially for pregnant people, is an absolute no-no. We want to make sure that milk is pasteurized, because if it's not, it can contain a number of microbes, including listeria, which the baby had. Salmonella is another one, E. coli. So we don't need to expose our children to anything like that to further increase their risk of sickness or death, or any other complications that could result from that. So make sure you are buying your milk that has been pasteurized. No raw milk for pregnant people. Absolutely no. And lastly, if you are taking any cholesterol medicine, call your pharmacy to make sure that it is not included in the latest drug recall for cholesterol medicine. Um, Recall was issued by the FDA recently. So, again, if you're taking medicine for high cholesterol, make sure you call your pharmacy to make sure it was not included in the cholesterol medicine that has been recalled recently. Right now, it's looking like rosuvastatin is one of the medications that is on the recall list. But again, check with your pharmacy to see if the medicine you have is a part of the recall. So those are our news updates. Just keeping you all informed. And next we will move over to our special guest conversation. Today we are joined by the wonderful Dr. Kendra B. McDow, who is a board certified pediatrician. She's the medical officer for the School District of Philadelphia and a CDC trained medical epidemiologist. She previously served as chief medical officer for the Baltimore City Health Department, leading Baltimore's COVID-19 vaccine campaign. She was named the 2025 Eisenhower Fellow, where she traveled to Ireland, Northern Ireland, and Ghana to study school health models. Girl, I thought you was there on vacation. She was working. And she is a National Minority Quality Forum's 40 Under 40 2022 leader in minority health. I told y'all was in for a treat. This sister is bad. Welcome to the show, Dr. McDowell. Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, awesome. Hi, Dr. Motley. First off, thank you so much for inviting me to Keeping It 100. Really
Yes.
excited to be here.
Absolutely. We were not going to get through this season without having you. I know you are a busy lady very clearly. And so I'm glad that you had time to join us because you worldwide. I thought you was in Ghana on vacation. I didn't know you was working.
It was, it
Oh,
was like 50-50. It was like
oh
a
good.
50-50 thing. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, good. Gotta mix a little business with a
yeah.
little pleasure.
Hmm.
Very, very
Exactly,
good.
exactly.
So today we are here talking about lead poisoning. We actually met through doing this lead work. You are one of the founding members of the Chester Lead Task Force as a graduate of Swarthmore College and being a part of their the Swarthmore Black Alumni Network. So thank you
Hmm.
so much for everything you have done to contribute to the lead work that we're doing in Chester. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I just want to also give a shout out back to you, Dr. Motley, for all the work that you're doing in the city of Chester and really spearheading and moving forward with making Chester lead free. Yeah, so excited to jump into the conversation.
Yep, 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 yep. You know, Chester had a robust lead poisoning prevention campaign and
Mhm.
money and resources and teams. They had like, I don't know, 15 people that were working on this for years. It was a whole
Wow.
department. For so many years, they were doing so much. They were doing the lead testing themselves. They had trained staff to become phlebotomists to do the blood draws. Like they had
Hmm.
so many resources to address lead in Chester. I don't know what happened to those programs, but we're working really hard to try to bring back a lot of a lot of those resources. So
Yeah,
I'm just very fortunate to be a part of the group that's working on those important initiatives. But my first
yeah.
question, before we even get too far, is just like, what is lead poisoning? So we talk about lead poisoning. What does that mean?
Hmm. So, first off, lead is a heavy metal and it's found throughout nature. So it's found throughout nature. It was used like back in the day in our plumbing. It was used also in paint. as well. It used to be in gasoline too. And you can even find it in some like ceramics and like other products from other countries as well. And the reason why it was used is because it basically prevented things from breaking down. So it was a great product because it prevented like the pipes from breaking down. It made the paint last longer, that type of thing. But lead poisoning, what can actually happen is that lead itself as a heavy metal, when there's too much that has been accumulated in the body, it can be a neurotoxin. So it can be dangerous to the nerves in the body. For children and just for people in general, even for adults, lead exposure can happen through dust. So like lead that is kind of moving through dust, and that can be inhaled or even ingested into the body. It can go to the stomach, to the GI tract as well. And so what happens with lead poisoning is that you have an accumulation of lead in your body, and it goes to your organs. It can go to the brain and accumulate there. It goes to the nerves. It can go to the heart. It can go to the kidneys. It can literally go to every organ, the bones as well. And the lead poisoning happens when you have a specific level of lead in your body that you can test from the blood. And when that level happens, even though there's no safe level of lead, but when that level happens, there's need to have medical treatment a lot of times. And sometimes there's also need to take the person out of the environment and to monitor those lead levels as well to make sure that they're coming down. So the way that we test for lead poisoning is a blood test that's usually done when a child is just automatically, when a child is 12 months and then 24 months. So I was really happy to hear about that legislation that's going to make this mandated that children are tested at 12 months and 24 months.
Yeah, I mean, it's long overdue. It's been a CDC recommendation for so long, and
Mhm.
and even though it's a recommendation from the CDC, and even though it's a requirement for children that have Medicaid to be tested at 1 and 2, it's still not being done. And so, hopefully, with another set of regulations in place, we can really see some improvements in our childhood lead testing rates.
Yes.
Um, because it's just lead exposure and poisoning is the source of a lot of the issues we see with children and with adults, because lead doesn't
Hmm.
leave your body. It doesn't
Yep.
leave. It just sticks around and causes all types of other problems into adulthood. And so hopefully we can get these lead testing rates, address lead poisoning so that people can really live, have a better quality of life.
Yeah. I actually didn't know that there was no legislation in Pennsylvania for mandated lead testing. Because
Mhm.
when, practicing as a pediatrician, one, we're trained to test at 12 and 24, 12 months, 24 months, so 1 years of age, and then two
Mhm.
years of age. And especially like you mentioned, if a child has Medicaid and or a child has risk factors. So like some risk factors would be if you live in a house built before 1978, because that's when, because risk of lead paint. If a
Mhm.
parent works in an occupation, that also there's high risk for lead as well, or even lived in another country as well, where they weren't
Mhm.
testing for lead, or there's risk of lead exposure. So, parents can also ask too. So like if you take your child to the pediatrician and they're there for their 1 year old visit or their 2 year old visit, and the pediatrician's not doing a lead test, you can always ask to get that test done.
That's a really good point, and we want to remind the people that they have power. Like you
Mm-hmm.
absolutely have a voice in the care of your child, and you should absolutely ask. And even if the
Yes.
child is 3 or 4, or if
Correct.
they are older and may have moved to a different house, and you just want to make sure that these children are not being exposed to lead, or don't have higher lead levels. Um, you can also ask your pediatrician for a test. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, they will have a test in their office, because then it's just a finger prick and you don't have to take them to a lab. But if they don't have a testing device in their office, you do have to take them to like a Quest or a LabCorp to get the lab result done. And that's where a lot of the testing falls off, because it's just not convenient at that point.
That's
It's not
true.
convenient. You got to schedule a visit, another visit to another provider, show up, and then that's where you see a lot of gaps when you have to do
Mm-hmm.
another step. So hopefully you go to a pediatrician um that has testing. If you are in Delaware County, the Delaware County Health Department offers testing, so you can reach out to them. We can make sure that the phone number to their wellness line is in the chat for you, because you can also, call and have them test your child right on site. And it's a finger prick too, so it's not a lab draw from the arm, which is a little bit more painful as well. Just a little finger prick, which isn't bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if a child does come back with high lead levels, what are some ways to address it? And how can we, if we're looking at just like primary prevention, because the one thing about
Mm-hmm.
lead poisoning, it can be very devastating, but the good thing is that it is also preventable. So what are some
Yes.
things that families can do to prevent lead poisoning?
Mm-hmm. So, big thing to prevent lead poisoning is to reduce exposure to lead. So nutrition is also a really, really big one. So making sure that everyone in the household, but especially children, are taking their multivitamins. So certain nutrients, such as iron and calcium, decrease absorption of lead into the GI tract. So making sure you're getting that through the multivitamins or your food as well is going to be really, really important. Cleaning the home, especially if you live in a home that was built before 1978, and when to decrease the dust, like the amount of dust in the home. And one big way of doing that is, instead of dusting with a dry dust mop or a dry brush, using a wet mop, because that's going to really like absorb the dust, make it stick instead of making it just float into the air. So, you can use wet wipes as well to wipe down the floors, window sills where you might see the paint peeling off and pulverizing into that dust. So that's also really helpful. Um, Water filters. So, because of the lead pipes, lead can be in the pipes. Having water filters as well that filter lead, buying that is really important. And I know one big thing that you've been doing, and the city of Chester has been doing, is really promoting environmental testing. So that's something as well that families can do. So just testing the soil outside the home. You can also test the water, test paint in the home too, to see if there's lead levels. And then if those levels are high, there might be opportunities for, lead remediation that can take place through the city.
Thank you. That was definitely a lot. So I want to break down a few of those just to share some more resources with the community. There is a cleaning video that we have been sharing with the community on how to properly clean your home, especially if you live in a home that was built before 1978. And That applies to almost all the housing in Chester. I would say probably over 90% of the homes in
Mm,
Chester were built before 1978. So we want to make sure you're practicing good cleaning habits. So we'll make sure that that link is in the chat for you. Also, you mentioned water filters because pipes. Um, if the home was built before the 1980s, the pipes may be lead pipes. And having lead pipes is not a problem. It's if the pipes are compromised in some way, they can leach lead, and that's how lead gets into the water. And the only way you'll know is if you get your water tested because it doesn't have a taste or a smell or a color. You just wouldn't know. So you can call Chester Water Authority to get your water tested. We'll make sure that number is in the chat. That's a phone that the phone number that we provide in the chat is not an active line that they pick up the phone throughout the day. You just call and leave a message, and somebody will absolutely call you back. And you can schedule free water testing for paint testing. The city of Chester has some funding to offer in-home testing of paint to see if there are any. Well, we know if you live in Chester, um there is lead, and the house was built before 1978. There's lead paint in the house, but the presence of lead paint is not a problem, just like the presence of lead pipes is just when it's compromised. If the paint is compromised, if it's chipping, if it's peeling, that's what creates the lead dust that becomes a problem for families. So there is some funding available through the city of Chester to do some lead testing of the paint. Health Educated also have has some funding for lead testing. So you can reach out to us, Health Educated, inc.org. I don't know if we can get that on the screen, healtheducatedinc.org, but you can reach out to us. There's a lead page. Click on the link, and you'll be able to sign up for lead testing, for you like home testing, paint testing.
mhm,
Or you can also call us at 484-234-2427. Again, that number is 484 234 2427. If you have questions or want to get connected to some lead testing services, we also have funding to do that through Health Educated. Um, and what else she say? Soil testing. We are in the process of teaching the community how to test their soil for lead. It is a very simple, easy thing to do. We'll be handing out soil kits and identifying soil testing drop-off locations. The testing actually takes place in Philadelphia, so we will make sure that you have the tools you need and you know where to take your soil samples to. On the screen, you'll see our little handout on how to do the soil kit. It's really simple. All you need is a spoon and a baggie. You throw the soil in there. We'll have it sent to Philly to be tested, and then you'll get your results back. So we're working on drop-off sites. So it's a lot going on because lead is so pervasive. It's really everywhere, and it can be overwhelming. But we're just trying to make it as doable and digestible and put out as many of the resources as we can. So yeah, that's the connection. So thanks for mentioning all those things. I just wanted to circle back to give the listeners and viewers some resources.
yes, yes, awesome. And then just to reinforce that one, the nutrition one, so the multivitamins,
Oh yeah.
that's like a quick, like definitely something that going to your doctor, getting a prescription, going or getting it over the counter at your local pharmacy or drugstore, and just having your child take the multivitamin daily
Hmm.
is also going to be really helpful.
Thank you for mentioning that. We have been visiting the daycare centers in Chester to distribute multivitamins, and we purchase Flintstone multivitamins complete. So it's Flintstones complete because that has iron, calcium, and the vitamin C.
Uh, where's my Rocky's book challenge paper? Where is it?
Go ask your dad,
Okay.
please. Thank you. Excuse me, parenting calls. Um, so yes, what was I saying? I just had it and I just lost it.
About the Flintstone
Oh,
multivitamins. Hmm.
Complete. So Flintstones Complete, thank you, has iron, calcium, and vitamin C. So whatever multivitamin you purchase, make sure you read the label and make sure it has iron, calcium, and vitamin C. Um, or and make sure your children are eating a balanced diet because they'll automatically get those nutrients. My children don't like eating, so they take a multivitamin every day. They're really picky, so they just take a multivitamin. But yeah, good stuff, good stuff. Thank you, Dr. McDowell. Now, is there any idea what is like the number one source of lead poisoning? Like, is it the soil, people tracking it in from outside? Is it water? Is it pain? Is it something else?
Yeah, my understanding is that it is the paint,
Mm,
especially for young children. Really, that paint. I remember, like, early in my career, I had a patient who came in because he was actually having something called pica, where
oh
he
yeah.
was eating non food, non nutrient food items. And so that can be a sign of lead, lead in the blood, lead poisoning. So I tested him, and he had high levels of lead.
Mm,
And the health department came out, and it was the lead paint.
mm,
So the lead paint is a big one. And the biggest thing, the lead paint, like you were saying, it chips, it peels off, it can fall down, also outside as well,
mhm.
into the soil. And then of course in the home, it can spread through the dust, inhalation, and then also eating it too. And the lead actually makes the paint sweet, and
Mhm.
so that's why you find children eating it. For adults, though, the I think the most common um, point of exposure for adults is occupational. So, like, let's say you work in construction, um, that is a potential risk. And even for coming home, like you work in construction, you're coming home, you have children in the home, making sure that you are, taking off your boots, not bringing those into the home, like that type of thing. Making sure that you're wearing the protective gear as well, like the right respirator, face mask, etc., that is needed when you're working in those construction environments. The other thing for adults is hobbies. So, like, if adults have specific hobbies, that maybe metal work, or collecting, like collecting ceramics or collecting things from other countries that may have high levels of lead, use of even going to like the gun range, so the bullets can have lead as well. So that is also a risk of exposure for adults too.
Thanks. I forget that the bullets have lead in them. I was reading a book once and it talked about young children who were shot and
Mm,
or even anyone that's shot and the importance of getting all the fragments out because if the
oh,
fragments stay in, they have lead in them and then that causes
yes.
lead poisoning in that
Mm-hmm.
child or that person that's already dealing with a gunshot wound, but now they'll
Yep.
have lead in their system if all the fragments aren't removed during a certain.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for that. So I guess adults can get lead poison. Is the cutoff the same for intervention for adults and children?
You know what? I would have to I would have to look that up, honestly, because
Yeah,
I'm a pediatric doctor, but I would
yeah,
have to I'll
yeah.
look that up, actually, if the cutoff is the same. Um, for children, the cutoff is actually, it's being lowered and lowered and lowered, because we know, especially for kids, because their brain is developing, their nerves, everything, their organs are growing, and they just have increased risk of those long-term, acute and also long-term impacts of lead, that the cutoff for lead poisoning is low, and there's really no safe level of lead in the blood. But I don't know for adults. I have to look
You know
that up.
what? We have somebody that can look it up. Dr. Orozco is listening in. She
Okay,
can look it up for
perfect.
us and pop it in the
Thank you.
chat. Pop it in our chat. That's why she's here. She'll look it up and put it in our chat, and then we can let the audience know. Because
That's
I
it.
never thought about that, because we're always talking about childhood lead poisoning,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering if adults are checked, what is the limit? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What else did I wanted to add? So we said that children should be tested at 1 and then again at 2. Are there any other testing recommendations for children around testing? Before you answer that, I do want to mention one thing that I forgot to say. I don't know how I forgot this. The Delaware County Health Department also offers lead testing. So you could, no, I said that. But they will come to your home and inspect for lead if a child there has high lead levels. So they can do the lead paint inspection too, and lead risks, to see what are the sources of lead exposure if a child has high lead levels. And Community Action of Delaware County can do the same thing as well. So we'll make sure to put those in the chat. Can you hear drums? My child just got on his drum set and he is banging.
I can hear him a little bit.
All right, thanks.
But it's not too. Only when you said something.
Seriously. All right, thanks.
I love it.
But yeah, so there's a lot of resources. We want to make sure that we are using them. We want to
Mhm.
spend down all that money. So please connect with Community Action in Delaware County. Please connect with the Delaware County Health Department, because their programs are up and running. They have been up and running. But the city of Chester, we're still getting that that program up and running. And then for health educated with our in-home lead testing, we are going to be getting that launched. We have a list of homes that have already signed up, so we're going to be getting that launched really soon.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure all
Excellent.
the numbers and all the websites are in the chat for you, in the comments. Did you
Yeah,
want to
but
add something, Dr. McDow?
yeah, what you were saying before about any other testing,
Yes.
again, usually it is just you get at that 12-month visit, the 24-month visit, your pediatrician should be testing for lead, like Dr. Motley, like you were saying. It could be either from, venous, actually from the blood, like blood draw that you have to go to a lab to get, or it could be that finger prick that could be done in office. And then also a CBC. So a CBC is called, it's just like a complete blood count, which tests to see if someone has anemia. So low red blood cell levels or low blood levels, if that person has that. Sometimes with lead poisoning, you can also see anemia. But we usually test the blood for anemia as well at that 12-month or 1 year visit, or the 24-month or 2 year visit, to make sure that there's no iron deficiency, other nutrient issues that could be causing anemia for a child as well.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, what about an older child? Is there an age at which it's like a cutoff for getting tested for lead?
No, I mean, if there is suspicion that a child, because of exposure, because of symptoms, maybe other people in the household, like that are younger, have elevated blood lead levels or have lead exposure or lead poisoning, then we will also test the family too. We would test the child even if that child is older. So there's
Okay.
no, I would say, official cutoff.
Okay.
But because, again, we want to make sure that everything's about prevention. So that's the reason why we want to test at the younger age. And
Mhm.
that's also a time period at the younger age where children are right? Putting their hands into their mouths. They're really exploring their environment, and the lead can be increased absorption into the body so that we can catch it early and we can put forth those prevention measures as mentioned, and that it doesn't get to become lead poisoning and we don't have those additional, side effects.
I
Okay,
gotcha. That
so
makes sense. I see that Dr. Roscoe gave us some data.
and it looks like in adults, okay, so this is really good. So in children and adults, the 3.5 is the lower limit. So if you get a blood lead test and it's 3.5 or higher, that should trigger your pediatrician or the medical doctor to give advice. And then they also may reach out to the health department as well to let the health department know. But then for adults, got it. So for adults, if it's 30 micrograms or higher, and that triggers issues around work. So they shouldn't be doing certain things at work, or they might have to be removed from the work environment. And then 80 or higher, that's when it's considered lead poisoning / toxicity. For children, it's 45 or higher. So it's lower for children than adults. That's really helpful.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Roscoe, for clearing that up for us. It's good to know. I didn't know that there was an action level for adults, which is much higher than the one for children. So
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. Thank you for doing that. Um, Dr. McDowell was going to ask you a question uh about I saw something where they said if children are acting out in school, if they're having behavior issues in school, test them for lead. Have you read anything about that recently? Is there any recommendation that you've seen? I don't remember where I saw it, but I felt like that came out recently, like more recently, to
Hmm.
test a child for lead, especially if they're having behavior issues in school.
Yeah. Lead exposure can cause behavioral issues. So sometimes you can be exposed to lead and have a blood lead level that is 3.5 or higher and not have any symptoms. So that can happen too. And then sometimes children do have symptoms. And because lead is a neurotoxin, it goes to the brain. It can cause, symptoms like ADHD, hyperactivity, impulsiveness, and learning difficulties as well. I'm not sure. I don't think that there is guidance, coming from AAP or CDC saying that you definitely should test for lead if a child is having behavioral issues. However, I think that there's probably in the process of working up a child, for example, we don't know the reason why they're having these behavioral issues. The pediatrician or the doctor might consider testing for lead.
That makes a lot of sense. I think one thing we didn't talk about at the very beginning, which you probably should, which you just reminded me, like what are the um risk of lead exposure? Like what happens when a child is
Mhm.
exposed to lead? How does that show up for a family? What should they be looking for if they, you know, if they're one if they are wondering if their child may have been lead poisoned or not?
Yeah. Um, so symptoms, in children, they really are non-specific. So it can be a lot of different things. Um, so children they can have constipation, stomach pain as well. A child having lots of stomach pain, Some parents you may see some behaviors as well in your child in terms of, maybe they're eating paint from the wall, or maybe they're eating lots of ice, or they're eating, this is the pica, right? They're eating those non-food items. So ice, it may be soil as well that they may be eating. Like we mentioned, they may be eating paint, chewing on things. That's a reason really to take your child to the doctor to be evaluated. Very tired, children, they can present with fatigue, vomiting as well, those GI symptoms. So vomiting, headache. And we talked about the anemia that lead can cause. So those low red blood cell levels that lead can cause, that can also lead to fatigue. And then learning, which you talked about, learning difficulties that can show up more later, in mid childhood, school age. But those are really the symptoms that children can have. So it really takes the parent, but also the physician, to have a high level of suspicion about lead poisoning. But that is also why it's critical that children are getting tested when they're 1 years old, when they're coming to the doctor for their 1 year old visit, and when they're coming to the doctor for their 2 year old visit, because the symptoms can look like anything. So instead of waiting, we just test them to catch it early.
Yep, catching it early is really key, because if they have any delays in speech or any other
Hmm.
cognitive delays, and they can get connected to services early, and they can overcome a lot of those challenges.
Correct.
But they can't if they're not tested, and we don't know that we need some type of intervention. So please,
Hmm.
please, please get your kids tested. Set a reminder. Ask your pediatrician. Make sure you know what to do. And also remember that the health department in Chester, there's also an office in Gayton, can also offer testing for you. We could talk about lead all day and all night because it's so much. But I like lead because it's not complicated. It's
That's
easy.
very true.
It's
Yeah.
easy to understand. It's not complicated, but it's a lot because it's everywhere, and you just have to figure out where you're gonna show up and target to prevent the exposure. But thank you so much for coming on to the show today, Dr. McDowell. I know we can do this all day and all night, but I think we gave everybody enough of a little something something
Yes.
to get started.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for coming on. Before you go, I just want to ask you one question. What is the podcast where you can come and be tuned in and be entertained about the latest and greatest in health care, health topics? What you got?
It's always keeping it 100, always.
Thank you. Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on, and I'm sure we'll have you back soon. Though
Thanks,
at least we'll
Dr.
see
Motley.
you. Of
Thank
course.
you so much.
Thank you. All right, that was great. Dr. McDowell is good. I can't wait to hear about her Ghana trip because I thought she was there playing around. She was working, so I want to hear about all of it. So before we close out, just want to announce a few things we have coming up. Of course, we have our blood pressure program going, our free blood pressure. And if you didn't know, we didn't talk about this tonight, but lead exposure as a child increases your risk for high blood pressure as an adult. So, um, we probably all was exposed to lead at some point. We grew up in homes that were built before 1978. That's one reason why you see heart disease and high blood pressure so prevalent in our communities because we tend to live in older homes. Um, so that's the connection there. But we are offering a free blood pressure program. So please check us out at healtheducatedinc.org to sign up. We have a new class starting in March, healtheducatedinc.org to sign up for blood pressure program. You get a blood pressure monitor, you get a coach, you get free food, produce, you get free nutrition sessions. It's just a lot. It's a lot. Like the gifts just keep on giving. So make sure you check that out. Also want to mention is Black History Month. Remind you all, if you haven't done anything yet with your family, check out Miss Simpkins' Black History Month exhibit at the Cat Center on 4th Street. It will be available until February 21st. The days and the hours, the address are on the screen for you. So please check out her Black History Month exhibit. The resilient presence of African Americans in Chester and the diaspora. Don't want to miss that. Health Educated will be at the Show Me Love celebration with Purple Heart Project this Saturday, February 14th from 12 to 2 in Darby. So you can come through. We have some lead resources that we'll be sharing at that event. We love Purple House Project, so always glad to partner up with them whenever we can. We are also going to be at Shiloh Baptist Church on Sunday, this Sunday, February 15th from 12:30 to 2 at their Healthy Heart Day. So you can check us out there. We'll be doing some lead education, some blood pressure screenings, just making sure that the community has what they need. And then lastly, we are doing some lead canvassing. So we want to make sure the community really understands about lead poisoning, how to prevent lead poisoning, and get connected to resources. So please make sure that you stay up on anything we're doing. And what we have coming up is lead canvassing. So if you want to get involved in our work, you can volunteer to canvas with us. We'll be going out into the community later this month. You can go on to our website, healtheducatedinc.org, to sign up for lead canvassing, or you can also call us at 484-234-2427 to find out how to get signed up for canvassing. We're going door to door, old school style. So that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next week, and always remember to keep it 100.
Keeping it 100, truth with no ceilings. Keeping it 100, no cap, just vision. We speak it, we live it. Your health is our mission. Keeping it 100, facts versus feelings. Keeping it 100, truth with no ceilings.